Oliver, I have big news. I've appointed you chairman and CEO of Deutsche Bank. I know you have a big meeting tomorrow, and I'm curious about what you're going to do.
Well, firstly, Rob, that's an absolutely awful thing to do to me. How could you appoint me chairman and CEO of Deutsche Bank? I don't know what I've done to deserve that. Anyway, be that as it may, I am reviewing the strategy, as my predecessors have been doing recently. Deutsche Bank has not been a great performer. Its return on equity in the past 3 years has been sub 3%. It's really not very good. So they're going through a strategy review at the moment, the results of which will be put out some point in the second quarter.
And what are you going to do, Mr. Chairman?
What I'm going to do is split it into two. Deutsche Bank is a universal bank at the moment. It has a big German retail business and a big investment bank. Now, traditionally, certainly recently, what a lot of these big universal banks have been trying to do is scale back their investments banking side. That's been the poorer returning side and focus more on retail. I think at Deutsche it has to do something slightly different, because at Deutsche the problem is retail banking. That in Germany, retail banking is a very, very tough market. It's very competitive. German people don't borrow very much, and when they do, they're very
Because traditionally the advantage of having a retail bank is a source of cheap funds, right? You get the deposits, and it's money to lend or so forth.
Yeah. And you would lose that, and that will be one of the challenges. But look across the Atlantic at Goldman Sachs. That is a big investment bank, a standalone investment bank that doesn't have big retail deposits, and yet it manages to carry on very nicely. Slightly different model to European investment banks, in that in America there's a lot more highly developed capital markets. So at Goldman it's a case of distributing the debt on, whereas in Europe it tends to stay more on bank balance sheets.
And you're going to turn Deutsche Bank, or the half of Deutsche Bank that is the investment bank, that you're going to split off into a mini Goldman, as it were.
Yeah, that would be the idea. Goldman, albeit even though it's an investment bank, makes a decent return on equity. It was just over 10% last year, and it's more highly rated. The equity is more highly rated than a lot of standalone banks.
You're going to have to develop that kind of capital markets activity that Goldman has in the United States and that's missing at Deutsche Bank.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of political support for that in Europe. There's this idea of a capital markets union with companies accessing capital markets for their financing rather than bank balance sheets. It's very popular. This is seen as one way of making sure that banks shrink the balance sheet and aren't quite so systemic as they used to be. So if there's a bank who's incentivized to help to develop that, it might have a measure of political support.
Oliver, good luck with the new job. You're going to need it.